Hi, BombBomb fans. My name is Alli, Menor, and I am the Content Marketing Manager.
I'm Matt Mead. I'm the visual storyteller here at BombBomb.
So Matt's actually not normally in front of the camera, but we wanted to bring
It's
him
the
in.
first time.
The first time. We wanted to bring him in because we work together very, very closely. And one project that we're constantly working on is the Bombcast, which is our live video podcast. And we started that back in August, and we first started it out as a live Zoom meeting. It kind of felt like a webinar. It was a little dry. The first episode did really well, but we noticed that the engagement kind of went down. So Matt and I brainstormed on some ideas to make it a little bit better. So you want to kind of talk about some of those ideas?
Yeah, so I guess initially it was basically just like you were spectating an office meeting, a Zoom meeting in an office, and it was just kind of bland. And I mean, it was still good content. Like I think people were, receiving value from it. But we're trying to think how we can visually make it more engaging, and then also just be more intentional about engaging the viewers. So one thing that we did was move it out of the office into the lunchroom, and I think visually that made a big difference.
Right. We have like a big orange wall in our lunchroom. So I think if you're ever going to go live, really try to find some exciting backdrops, even go outside. It doesn't have to be professionally produced. You can always go live on your phone. But when we're creating something like a professional podcast where we're trying to bring in thought leaders in the industry, we want it to look a little bit more polished. And we realize that some people also like that look as well. So I think that idea which was your idea, just bringing it into the lunchroom. And we also were pretty open about broadcasting it to our employees. Hey, come have lunch, sit in the background, jump in behind the scenes. It's supposed to be human. It's supposed to be one take and real. So we really like having that interaction and that realness feeling.
And you can't get out. And so recording from your car is a great place to do
What
something.
up, JB?
Hey, Lee, how are you?
Good, how are you?
JB, our VP of Customer Success.
Pro user, Elise.
Another thing we should probably talk about is how that first episode, we did not even know how we were going to power up that meeting, like all of that extra external hardware you needed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Bombcast is BombBomb's first live show on social media. So it was all, it's a new frontier, and we had no idea technically even how we were going to pull it off, especially since the Bombcast is a show where we're bringing in someone remotely as a guest, so they're not even in the office with us. So we're trying to technically think through the best way to go about that. And I think we pretty quickly realized that the Zoom meeting was probably the easiest platform to do that. So basically, it's still, it's a Zoom meeting, and we're just broadcasting that live, and that's still the formula we use. We've added onto that, and we can incorporate videos and add different camera angles. So we've added on to that kind of basic platform of it still just being a Zoom meeting that people are spectating. But yeah, so there are some technical barriers, it's too much. We realized early on that it was too much to have the Zoom meeting and the Wirecast streaming out the broadcast on the same computer. The CPU couldn't handle, or at least our MacBooks, the stuff we're using couldn't handle it. So our basic setup is we use two MacBooks, and we have a capture card device called a Magwell, and it's an HDMI to USB capture card. We plug one end into the Zoom, the MacBook running the Zoom meeting. The USB output goes into the Wirecast, which then streams it out to Joycaster, which then streams it out to Facebook and YouTube. So that's kind of the setup we've continued to use, is this like dual MacBook setup with a capture card device.
How often are you switching between cameras? Because you have another camera setup, don't you?
Yeah, so the thing about Zoom is that, it's a nice feature. It automatically switches depending on who's talking. But sometimes it can get confused, like maybe Jason laughs and then it cuts back to him, even though Elise is the one still talking, or whoever our guest is. We just had Elise on the show. Which can be awkward, because then it's just like Jason staring into the camera awkwardly while Elise is talking. So usually in that case, I'll cut to a different angle just so that it's not as awkward, and then we can, once it automatically switches back to the guest, I can cut it back to the Zoom feed. So it's basically like a 2-feed setup where I have an exterior camera, and then the other line is just the direct Zoom meeting. And yeah, it's pretty simple, but it gets the job done.
I also kind of noticed, and we kind of had this like, let's all sit down and really brainstorm how we could make the Bombcast better, probably after episode 3. And something that we wanted to talk about was what topics we're doing. We started out with like 3 key takeaways from every episode, and it felt so scripted. And you do not want your lives to feel scripted. What we're doing right now, we didn't practice once. We just are doing it as we're speaking. And
it's the BombBomb way.
It's the BombBomb way, absolutely. You want it to just feel real. So we kind of removed those key takeaways, and instead, our new host, Jason Sheffield, who's our VP of Content Strategy, he'll go in and he'll just have like a 20 to 30 minute call with the guest beforehand and kind of talk about topics that they can cover. And what I'll do is I'll try to choose the guest a couple weeks in advance, and I'll see somebody who's doing something different that we haven't talked about. So our guest before, Elise Kephart was an auto sales coach. She's awesome. Before Elise, we had Sue Pinky Benson, who's a real estate agent in Naples, Florida, and she rocks at going live. She had so many awesome tips. So if you haven't seen episode 8, I would definitely recommend going back and watching that one. But basically, Sue and Jason had a conversation beforehand, and then it was just very free-flowing. We originally tried to keep it to 20 minutes, and then we realized, it felt like we were cutting people off in the middle of their sentences. We were trying to stick to these key takeaways, and it wasn't really working. So instead, we just feed off of what Sue would tell us, or what Elise would tell us, or what Chris or Eric or any of our guests would tell us.
We learned from our guests through the process of doing the Bombcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's just not about simple video, learning more about live and, 360 video and anything like that, motion graphics. We're going to cover those topics too. So I think it's important when you're choosing content to try and see it's something that brings value to your audience. This isn't a new nugget of wisdom that I'm saying everybody's telling you to do this. Don't constantly sell yourself. Try to bring value, but also try to find things that you actually didn't know, and try to work with people that can bring you that. Find a topic that you are completely uninformed on, so that you can actually get some real value and get something back to your viewers and keep them engaged. So we've seen viewership go up. We do giveaways a lot, with t-shirts. We've also seen some really good results from going back into previous Bombcasts and just commenting and letting people know, hey, you joined us for the last Bombcast. We're live right now on this Bombcast, so come back and see it.
And another thing that you mentioned briefly was how we used to do the 4 key takeaways. So when we were kind of rethinking how to do the Bombcast, one of the things we did was take that away. We removed the 4 key takeaways and replace that with a time where we're focused on taking questions directly from the audience.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that was a significant shift just in how we think about how we're live streaming and trying to focus more on making it a conversation with the audience. Versus, here are the 4 things you need to know about what you just watched. Instead, let's hear some questions and, extend the conversation. I think that's been a really important change.
And even through those questions, the questions that you guys ask us can give me ideas for future content that we can cover in full-on episodes. So it's really helpful when you do ask those questions.
Yeah, it's good to know what people actually want. It gives us a direct line to know what the viewers actually want to see in the Bombcast and the information there.
Or what you're hung up on, what you're having problems with. We want to know so we can create content like videos like this to tell you. And we've realized through these Bombcasts that people want to know how we're going live and what we're doing and what we've been experimenting with. Another thing that Jason does, because Jason, he should be in here with us right now, but he did a bunch of research and realized that, you're not going to get somebody who's going to watch your full live the entire time. It's just not going to happen. They're going to come in for 2 minutes. They're going to come in for 20 seconds. They're going to come in at the first half, the middle half, the last half, what have you. So you're never going to really have their full, complete attention. So he likes to repeat why we're there, repeat what we're talking about, repeat who the guest is, why this is valuable. And that seemed to help as well, because then it just re-engages those questions again. So I definitely recommend to do that when you go live.
And again, if you're just joining us, a bunch of people pop on. Thanks for being on the live here with us. We're talking to Sue about going live on Facebook and how that's bringing true value to the business. And one of the things that you were just touching on, Sue, is this idea of brand recognition, right?
Because people might tune in 10 minutes in or 20 minutes in. So it's important just to establish context regularly so that people who did just join can, have some idea where they're at in the program.
Yeah, and we actually also, we do a show called Mailbag sometimes where we read the customer feedback that we get from you guys, and we'll read some really harsh feedback just because we are constantly trying to improve our customer success. We really pride ourselves in it. We listen, we want to know what's going on, we want to help people, we want a real person to be there to answer your questions. We don't want to just rely on bots. So sometimes though, in most cases, everyone's really happy with BombBomb and the product and we get great reviews. But sometimes we don't make people happy, so we started doing Mailbag and kind of reading those questions and a lot of the feedback we get and just responding to it live. And we thought it'd be cool to have, it was actually Matt's idea again, to have Jason have that newsroom feel. We had him use a gimbal.
Oh, yeah.
And a
That's
gimbal
fun.
just basically helps you hold your phone so it doesn't shake while you're filming, which if you go live ever, we definitely recommend getting a gimbal. And so he went live with his gimbal on his cell phone. He walked into the CS floor and he talked to all the client care associates.
Talk to Zach.
He talked to Zach, who's behind the camera right now, about what they're hearing, some of their great stories, some of their not so great stories. And it was really cool because it literally felt like we were an anchor in a newsroom.
And again, that's just using Zoom to bring Jason in on his mobile device and then broadcast that out on live stream. So yeah, Zoom's a great platform. It's kind of the core of how we broadcast.
And it's free.
And it's free, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna, you can read this entire blog post and hear all of our tips that we've already kind of reiterated. We'll also have some pictures to show you our setup behind the scenes. And we'll plug all the products that we're using so you can see and try and do it on your own. But if you have any questions, you can email me. My email is alli@bombbomb.com. You can hit up Matt.
Yep.
And
my email is, we can put it on the screen, matt.mead@bombbomb.com.
And we're happy to help you guys out. So keep going live, keep getting yourself in front of the camera, keep feeling comfortable. It's hard at first, but you can do it. And yeah.
And make it a conversation with your audience. That's where the engagement comes from.
Yeah, give them something of value. Make sure they want to be there. Take care, guys.